Hello, this is John Bennett from BBC Sports. You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
Can he play?
The best players in the world and their best plays. It's sports on 32 FM 94.9. After the tactics comes the play.
It's Carlo, what's he going to do? Oh!
After the play comes the goal.
Could be the match winner from Lionel Messi. Ronaldo! Aguero, they'll do it. It's a terrific goal.
After the goal comes the uproar. It's sports on 32 FM 94.9.
My lover's got no money, he's got his strong beliefs. My lover's got no power, he's got his strong beliefs. My lover's got no fame, he's got his strong beliefs. My lover's got no money, he's got his strong beliefs. Want more and more, people just want more and more freedom and love. What he's looking for, want more and more, people just want more and more freedom and love. What he's looking for, freed from desire, mind and senses purified, freed from desire, mind and senses purified, freed from desire, mind and senses purified, freed from desire. Na 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 na
All right, a great afternoon to everyone who has joined us on today's edition of the show Scoreboard Reloaded, right on 32 FM 94.9, and 17th day in the 6th month, year 2025. Well, definitely, we are still talking about the FIFA Club World Cup, where games went down in the early hours of today, and you could tell that maybe for the Esperance of Tunisia, one of Africa's representative there at the FIFA Club World Cup. Well, 2-0, the game ended between themselves and Flamengo just in the early hours of today, while for two Argentines, they scored against that's an Argentinian club, that's Boca Juniors. And in the statement released by Angel Di Maria, he said he was not apologizing to the Boca Junior fans and even to the players. Rather, he is saying hi to his family, who definitely were in the stand. Remember, he scored a penalty that's in that encounter also to actually keep the game at 2-2. He wasn't the one, but he was on target in that encounter. But later today, the action continues starting from 5 p.m. where Fluminense of Brazil also will be up against Borussia Dortmund. River Plate of Argentina will be up against Urawa Reds of Japan. And then that's later today also, we would have Osan against the Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa. And in the early hours of tomorrow, what we'll see is Monterrey up against Inter Milan, the beaten finalist at the UEFA Champions League. While a total of 24 goals has been scored at this year's edition of the FIFA Club World Cup, but how many goals are we going to expect in that the next set of games are set to go down in the next 24 hours. Well, in the next 24 hours, we have 4 games are set to go down. So how many goals will be scored to add to the tally of goals have been scored at the FIFA Club World Cup? All right, outside from that also, we will discuss about one man who survived that death. That was last season or in the just concluded season. His name is Antonio of that's Western Football Club. He was back with his national team, that's talking about Jamaica, but the result didn't go their way. But I would just ask, the insurance and also the security of these players. I know he was driving and then he had that collision, but what could have also ended his life? But this man is just thankful for one thing after missing like 6 months out of action. Well, outside that, we'll discuss about basketball stories. I know maybe Peter touched on that this morning, but it's all about the game that went down 3-2. We're going to say that this is going to get to Game 7 in the NBA Finals. Game 7, remember, that's just 2 games to go. Are we going to see them level it? That's in the next game, or we'll just wait until or it's just get concluded that's in game 6 without stretching to game 7. And then there's an update from English football also. The Premier League that's fixtures is set to be released that's tomorrow. And then we talk about one official, that's David Coates. Well, he has been charged by the Football Association for comments made about ex-Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp. Which definitely was leaked on social media. Then we'll talk about some ATP and WTA 500 events going on. Carlos Alcaraz is in action presently, as well as some other players. But from the games that went down in the early hours of today, we'll definitely run through that the result of those ones, those who are out of the games at this point, and those who definitely they've made it into the next round under the action on at the moment. So we have all of this lined up for you on today's edition of the show right here on 32 FM 94.9. And well, maybe we just start straight up from one part, which definitely is all about tennis before we touch football stories. It's just the aftermath of the Roland Garros. Well, remember Aryna Sabalenka was defeated by 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋 to win a second major Grand Slam title by that at the Roland Garros, coming up from a set down to win that 2-1. And then the statement by Aryna Sabalenka, which I would want many of us to listen to. And then she has apologized. She came out yesterday to apologize, saying that the emotions got the better of her. So that is where we're going to start from this lovely afternoon. So without going further, let's take a listen to the words of Aryna Sabalenka. Before that, we get the thoughts of Peter on the show this afternoon. The words of Aryna Sabalenka.
I would say, so basically that's it. I was just making unforced errors. Like, I don't know, I have to check the statistics. I think she won the match not because she played incredible, just because I made all of those mistakes from, like, if you look from the outside, kind of like from an easy balls.
But is it harder because it's the final of the Grand Slam? I mean, these events are so much bigger than
yeah, that
else.
hurts. I mean, especially when you've been playing really great tennis during the whole week. You know, you've been playing against a lot of tough opponents, Olympic champion Iga, you know, and then you go out and you play really bad. Like, I don't know, I think if Iga would win me another day, I think she would go out today and she would get the win. It just, you know, like...
All right, there you listen to the words of Aryna Sabalenka. Of course, saying she was the better player, or she is the better player, and not giving credit to 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋. You know, there were two sets of interviews. One on the that's on the hard court, and then the other
on the clay courts.
On the clay courts, rather, and then the other that's where the post-match interview definitely go down. But this was what she said, Peter. I remember we had a dialogue about this right after it happened. Because I was in the mix of the conversation that who is Aryna Sabalenka going to blame for her defeat to the hands of 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋. That's a point when she lost the Roland Garros finals to the hands of 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋.
Anyways, welcome. Thank you for having me, SAMIES. I think all of these, we should have gone past this. On the other hand, also, I've also had arguments about those who have talked about when the players are under such a pressure after a game and you walk up to them for a couple of interviews, emotions still blowing, and so they tend to say things that they might regret later. But for Sabalenka now, the Belarusian, she wasn't speaking after the game. She spoke during the normal press conference, which, of course, you expect emotions to be down, calm a little bit after the whole incident that happened on court where she took the first set and you thought that going to the second set she'll probably give her best, but that didn't happen and the American girl won the second and third set. Apology, maybe, kind of. We'll wait to see. Both are world number 1 and world number 2. Maybe they will have a chance at this year's XW19 later this month, spilling into the month of July. Maybe we might probably see the two of them on grass this time. Don't forget, when they met was on clay, and Sabalenka don't want to lose. So I understand.
She has lost 2 finals.
Yeah.
To 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋.
Yeah, she also lost earlier this year to Madison Keys.
That's
in the
Australian Open.
Yeah, so she has suffered defeat to 2 American girls. So I just want to see what maybe we'll have a repeat of that. later this month, going to the month of July for XW19. She wants to apologize. Good for her. But 𝐶𝐶𝐒𝐄 have also moved on. Don't forget, a couple of days ago, she came out to say she forgave the Belarusian and she has since moved on during a media tour in the US in the last few weeks after she won the French Open. So I think for 𝐶𝐶𝐄, she has moved on. It's for the Belarusian to deal with whatever the issues are. And hopefully, like I said a few minutes ago, I get to see both play in the XW19 final in London.
Well, just as you hope, they are definitely on course, maybe to play against each other. But for Aryna Sabalenka, well, let's see how she goes also from there at this point. But she's just the one athlete that a lot of people maybe they've attributed that the lack of proper speech from her, where she always find fault in so many things. If things don't go away, just like I say that. She didn't think 𝐶𝐶𝐄 won because she was a better player, but rather than making those mistakes. But
if you don't make mistakes, how do your opponent capitalize? She also made mistakes.
Well, that's there are two sides to a coin, actually. But then, still talking about tennis stories on the show this lovely afternoon. While it's still one man also who won, that's the Roland Garros, also coming from 2 sets down to defeat Jannik Sinner, the world number one. While British number one Emma Raducanu and Wimbledon champion Carlos Alcaraz, one of the several eye-catching pairings, are planning to play the new look US Open mixed doubles event. So this is a partnership which definitely maybe we will want to see for a long time. Raducanu and Carlos Alcaraz are playing as partners. Remember, Carlos Alcaraz has had various or different partners when we talk about is a game of tennis. But then we have Emma Navarro and Jannik Sinner, Zheng Qinwen and Jacques Draper, Jessica Pegula and Tommy Paul, Jasmine Paolini and Lorenzo Musetti, both Italians, and Rebekina and Taylor Fritz, Mira Andreeva, Dani Medvedev. Well, you know about their nationality at this point. Madison Keys against Francis Tiafoe as well, both Americans. Iga against Casper Ruud, rather. Paula Badosa and Stefano Tsitsipas, Emma Raducanu, Carlos Alcaraz. We would also have Belinda Bencic and Alexander Zverev, Olga Danilovic and Novak Djokovic, who has his sights on that's the 2026. That's talking about the Olympic Games. That's in LA. But from this partnership that we have Naomi Osaka, who lost out in the early hours of today, and Nick Kyrgios also are partnering.
Actually, Naomi lost a game yesterday because I remember that I took time to watch her game. So you see Naomi Osaka against Nick Kyrgios. That's it's more like you say what an opposite, but it is what it is. But going back to Raducanu and Carlos put it that way, Alcaraz, it's kind of good for.
After Rafael Nadal, a lot of people say.
Yeah, it's kind of good for Raducanu to partner with a champion, with one of the finest in men's singles tennis. Maybe that will help her. Give her a little bit of belief and it's a sense of knowing that she also won a Grand Slam before in the US. So I'll wait to see how all of this will pan out in the next few days. But before a few weeks now, before that, we've got the 3rd Grand Slam before the 4th, which is the last one on hard courts in the Flushing Meadows in New York.
All right, let's leave. Okay. Before we leave tennis stories, well, there are actions going on presently. That's in Germany, and also
the interesting thing is that world number 1 and world number 2 are both in different cities. Jannik Sinner, as we speak, is in Berlin, Germany. Alcaraz is in London, so they kind of have both to deal with, and both are on court as we speak. Like you mentioned, Alcaraz is on court now as we speak against Walton. Game is in the 7th game of the 1st set. Is 3 games apiece, and Walton is serving at the moment is 15-love.
Jannik Sinner also is up against Anfam there in Germany. Well, definitely he's hoping to definitely put himself that's in the right frame of mind right after the defeat. You know, that can actually take that's maybe a lot from you losing that from that's 2 sets up. To lose the finals to the answer for Carlos Alcaraz.
Yes, there we have him. Sinner up against Halfman. And Sinner lead 5-4 in the 1st set of the 10th game. And this Halfman at the moment is serving at 40-50. So we'll wait to see. But all of this we're catching up with.
Well, definitely, just as we are catching up with that. In the female games also, we tell that some players definitely are out. The likes of that Naomi Osaka. We also have that Daria Kasaskina also out. Madison Keys is out. And then from the games that are going on, Andrescu is up against Anisimova. Schneider is up against that's Vekik as well. And Rebekina will be up against Krieger later today. But we move away from all of those ones and quickly discuss about football stories. That's talking about the FIFA Club World Cup. Yesterday, Chelsea Football Club, yes, they won by 2-0. But some concerns definitely were raised as per the attendance we had in those games.
My lover's got no money, he's got his strong beliefs. My lover's got no...
Well, for a stadium that's 50,000 capacity, well, struggled to actually have fans in it. Peter, these are the issues that we would see at the... Or it's just like testing the waters. A lot of people have also said this is like testing the waters. See how the 2026 World Cup would go down. But for Chelsea, yes, they are one of the European giants, and then having that such a low turnout, even though they got the job done, winning by 2-0. But that low turnout wasn't good for the publicity of the FIFA Club World Cup as well.
Maybe that's an exemption, but for the others, the numbers have been good, have been fair. It might not be what FIFA wants. And like I was saying a couple of days off the live studio, that the group games, like I was not really interested in the game between Bayern and Hockland when it was 4-0. I walked away. Chelsea game last night against LA, the American were not good for me. If they were good, Chelsea should have conceded a couple of goals. Chelsea also probably would have scored a few goals in that game, but there was no matchup in that. So to some extent, people are believing that when they will get to the round of 16, the knockout stage, the numbers will be good. But for now, the number is not bad. And the number is not very good. So it's just within the average. You have 80,000, have 60 coming to watch and all of that. For me, I think it's still early days. Let's see what happens when we get to the point where jungle mature. When jungle mature, definitely you have the fans come out. The other thing has also got to do with timing of the game. The games for 5 p.m. There will be one later today, like you mentioned. That will be around 10, 11. And the heat is crazy in that part, in some part of the U.S., if not all part of the U.S. So that might work in against the fans coming out in their numbers to come watch some of these games. But people understand all of these. And then you see the numbers that come out last night in the early of this morning while I was watching the game between Boca Juniors and Benfica, and the game between Experience, the Tunis, and the Brazilian side. The numbers were quite commendable. They were good. So, but the game for 5 p.m., you might struggle with the fans coming out in their numbers to come watch.
All right, for Flamengo, they defeated Esperance de Tunis by 2-0. And maybe for Arsenal Newman, well, he started, not Arsenal Newman, the man who left Arsenal last season, at the end of last season, that's Jorginho started that's this game. And then we say that of outing has it been for the African side? Remember, I actually maybe gave Esperance de Tunis in order to get out from their group because they are in a group Esperance. They are in Group D, where I tipped them and Flamengo to actually come out of that group. But they've tasted a defeat now, and it will be down to how they win at their next 2 games, which is against the Chelsea and the LA Football Club.
Well, it was shocking when you were saying on Saturday that Chelsea will be out in the group stage, and I said no, Chelsea.
Were they convincing enough yesterday?
Wasn't. What mattered was the result, and they got the result. Maybe they were playing against LA Galaxy side, but you know Chelsea's next game is against Flamingos of Brazil. So that will probably see big test. And both teams won the opening game, so good for them if they can share the spoils in the second game of the group stage. You'll both be on 4 points. Wait to see what the Tunisian side will do. They lead the Tunisian league. They play against the LA Football Club. But talking about the players, because there are questions around Leroy Sané is on his way to Turkey, to Galatasaray and Turkey. Why is he playing for Bayern? Jorginho just left Arsenal Football Club. But let me just stay with a few players. Di Maria also, don't forget, he has left Benfica back to Rosario in Argentina, but they still have the contract with their club side. So yes, they will move, but the club side, just like Alexander-Arnold could have stayed with Liverpool because his contract run out at the end of this month.
Yeah.
So Real need to pay something to Liverpool to get him on board to the US. So a few of these players have been given permission by their new clubs to go play for their whole clubs, and hopefully they can join them in July when they will officially link up with that new club side. But like I said yesterday on the show, the transfer window has reopened. Now you can begin to see players make those movements, and of course club-to-club discussion about players jumping ship. But quickly here, you're talking about how the African teams are fair. South Africa, the publicity has been crazy, has been massive because their game is coming up very soon. We've seen African teams, Al-Hilal almost got a win against Inter Miami. That didn't happen. Maybe that game ended in a draw. Was good for both teams. Esperance de Tunis did not get a win in their game in the early hours of this morning against Flamingo, where they lost by 2-0. So what do we have left, SAMIES? We've got Mamelodi Sundowns. And who else again? There's one more African team I've not mentioned. There were four.
We also have
Wydad Casablanca. They have not
yeah.
played that game also. They have not played that game. So we just wait to see how all of this will happen. Wydad will be playing a big game against Manchester City. So both City and Sundowns have got their games coming up. Sundowns will be playing against Hyundai from South Korea. You want to say, do they have a chance in that one? I don't know. But hey, we'll wait to see. Two teams on the continent, they played their game. One lost, one got the point, and two more still to go. So I'll wait to see what Wydad will be making of their game against Manchester City. But for some who don't understand Korean football or watch the Asian games, they'll probably want to give it to Sundowns, which I know might be tough after they lost the CAF Champions League to Pyramids of Egypt.
All right, for Inter Milan, they would actually be in the dugout with their new coach, that's Christian Chivu, and he said that the Italian Giants are ready to put a recent history behind them as they prepare for their Club World Cup opener against Monterrey. That's later in the early hours of tomorrow by 2 a.m. That's a Nigerian time. For Inter Milan, yes, I made mention, maybe I was not on air, that's their striker, that's Taremi. He's not going to be playing this game. Why? Because he's still in Iran. Why? This is because of the lock of that flight from this side. He's not the only one. We also have a Tottenham player who is also facing a similar situation like that. That's a man of Solomon there in Israel.
But they are not involved in the Club World Cup. So you can always find his way. I saw pictures earlier this morning on the CNN how so many Iranians are trying to move away from Tehran out of the country because of some kind of news they've been getting. So I just hope that Inter Milan can have a way to find one of the strikers out and get him maybe on board. If not in the group stage, maybe in the knockout stage where they will have chance to register more players. So it's not the best in terms of pictures that we've been seeing, how players have been stuck. Inter Milan also have got, they don't have the Austrian, Marko Arnautovic, part of this team because he said he's done with Inter Milan. He's looking for a new adventure. So what Inter have got right now is Lautaro Martinez and Marcus Thuram.
Well, just as that it is for that's the FIFA Club World Cup. We switch our focus now and talk about a bit of other European football stories, which is straight in England. We had a former Premier League referee, David Coates. 2 weeks ago, there was a footage also online showing him making a bit of a delivery. But the FA, they've now charged the Coates in relation to Rule E31, which alleges he acted in an improper manner or used abusive words or insulting words. It says a reference to club's nationality in the video constituted an aggravated breach. So he has been cleared of any gambling misconduct following claims that the referee had discussed that issuing a yellow card to a player prior to a match. But this thing, just to cut the story short, is that David Coates has not been, and that's the best of officials. What we'll talk about his relationship with other club sides there in the English Premier League. Speaking of being biased.
I don't know about bias or no bias now. I also saw pictures of him, drugs or kind of thing like that. So there's a way these guys want to give a soft landing to match officials and all that. I thought this David Coates issue would have been closed by now. There'd be a closure to it, but I'm a bit shocked to see it again popped up on the BBC website this afternoon. And well, it hasn't been officiating. I don't think it will ever again have a chance of officiating in the English Premier League, which of course will be the case at the end of it. All
right, for Tottenham Hotspur, that's the thought of South Korea is emerging as a factor in the future of captain Son Heung-min among interest in the forward from Saudi Arabia.
They're going to give him a chance to make a call on his future. Spurs, if he wants to leave Spurs is fine. If he wants to stay, activate another season, they're fine. I think they're going to give him a chance. He's a legend. He got them the UEFA Cup, something Harry Kane or Goloris couldn't do.
But they moved on to win the title. But Harry Kane, Goloris, maybe you say he has the bigger title actually.
Goloris?
Yeah.
Winning the World Cup?
Of course.
No. I'm talking about club football now, not national team football.
Okay, let's see how that goes. Also, quickly, just before we leave, also we have some managerial moves that's in the world of football. We are ex-Argentina midfielder Almeida. He has been named as Sevilla's new head coach, and then we also have that's a Ligue 1 club Nantes. So that means this man, Daddy Musa Simon, he has a new manager. That's Luis Castro.
That club always fine. They're like the heartland of the MPFL, but they've never gone down. There's always a struggle. Just to put this in context, Nuns back then, 20 years ago, used to play Champions League football. Yeah. They had Samson Siasa there, and they had this Chadian. Can't remember his name now. Jaffet something now.
Present head coach also played there.
So but now what you see with Nuns, with Musa Simon and the rest of the boys there, they just have a way to struggle at the end of the season, looking for results and points from and away from the club. But maybe with the new man now in charge, it will help them fight the other heavyweights, the Marseille, the Paris Saint-Germain, the Lille Metropole, the Lens, and the other teams who just find a way of playing in the Champions League. Nuns should be doing that based on the history.
All right, so Peter, just before we leave in about 60 seconds, at the NBA Finals, Oklahoma City Thunder against the Indiana Pacers, Game 5, 3-2 it ended in the early hours of today. Going into Game 6, do you see the Indiana Pacers making a comeback, or it's going to be done and dusted for the Oklahoma City Thunder to win the title?
I wish this get to Game 7, make it interesting, make it a proper NBA
there has
final.
not been any advantage. It has been 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, Now, the 3-2.
So if you are going by that route, then you will probably want to say it might go 3-3, and then we'll go to Game 7, which I would love to see. For me, I want to see Game 7 because it's a final.
So can we say that this is also maybe a very, very competitive NBA Finals?
It is, because based on the result, 1-1, 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2. Ordinarily by now, you should be talking about this game being wrapped up before Game 7, but my wish is that we get into Game 7, but if it doesn't, then good.
All right, thank you so much, everyone who has joined us on today's edition of the show. We'll come your way again tomorrow. That's by 7:45 a.m.